Hi, Scorpio. I wanted your reading to be a bit more intimate. So I'm doing it like this. Also because I just want to speak to you and make sure you're okay. Out of everyone who is witnessing this extreme time that we're in right now, it feels like you are the ones who are bearing it and really not saying anything. It may also be because you're distracted. There are so many different planets in retrograde, and they all have to do with your intimate life, Justice and the Magician. Places where you feel that you should have been treated more fairly. People that you feel pulled the wool over your eyes, which is not easy to do. Things that you feel now you have the tools to remedy. The retrogrades may have you feeling like any relationship from the past can be mended. And that's just not the case. But for the next 4 weeks, you're gonna try hard. As long as you don't change yourself too much and get too attached to the outcome, you should be fine. But the theme for Scorpio this month is switching it up until you find something that works. Now, although in terms of career, that's great. In terms of love and partnership, it's scary. Because if you keep changing until you get to something that works just because you're the magician and you have all these things on the table, is that really a relationship you're having with another person, or is that just you bouncing off yourself? 4 of Pentacles, 5 of Wands. The need to hang on to things and people, old relationships that have been toxic, always were toxic, were never right for you, is very strong in June. The regret surrounding them and the willingness to do the work to get them back, which doesn't make sense to anyone except you, is also very, very strong. 8 of Wands and the King of Swords. It quickly leads you into a place where you feel powerful but vicious. You're agitated. You're trying to switch it up until you get to something that works, but then you get there and you're like, this isn't me. I don't want this. So, the smartest thing now to do would be to acknowledge these retrogrades, all in specific signs that have to do with intimacy for you, or they're your ruler, and become unattached to the outcome. If you end up with the person, great. If you rekindle a romance, great. And if you don't, great. The ruler of your house of relationships, Venus, is also retrograde, and it's really weighing on you. Along with all the retrogrades, all the eclipses happening in your money sectors. Money gets slow, but steady. But you've got to find a new way to make it. And you have to keep innovating. And if you can do that, you'll be fine. The lunar eclipse on the 5th is going to teach you more about how to do that. It's very important to listen, to meditate that day, to sleep early, to help yourself. Next group of cards is the Chariot and the Six of Wands. Now let's talk about the solar eclipse in Cancer on the 21st, also in a money-related house. So not spending too much, following the deep desire within, switching up until you find what works financially. And by the eclipse, you will, God willing. Then Four of Swords, the Star, and the Knight of Pentacles. You may want to take as much time as you can before you really wish for the next thing, because it will be coming in slow. If you're dealing with an Aquarius specifically, they are not only moving slow, they're very confusing. The hot and cold of it, right? Bottom of the deck, there's that Venus retrograde, bringing back all these types of people who don't even need to be near you, when your only answer to them should be, I am doing great. You also have a tendency to get stuck on someone this month and expect them to also be stuck on you. And of course, I know I'm hitting a Scorpio nerve, but not everyone you fall in love with falls in love with you. Not everyone who purports to be in love with you is. But these eclipses and retrogrades have really been doing a number on you, to say nothing of what's going on out in the streets. But there is a balance to it. Just like you. Where you do things the wrong way even, but they turn out great. So now, all you have to do to make more room for things to turn out great is not get back into anything, not chase anyone's affection, not any of those things. It's very heavy. Very heavy. I hope when we look at the cards, you'll be able to see what I mean. It's a lot of major arcana, and it's the really important ones for this month. So letting go, picking up speed, and you're good. Easier said than done, yes. But if you could only feel the heaviness I feel right now, I think that's why I wanted the video to be more intimate. I wanted to be able to look at you up close. All right, I am lost in contemplation. Let's look at these cards, okay? Love you. Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to the second part of your reading. So, I'm sorry that the end of that reading was so disjointed. The energy while doing this reading was so heavy. And it was just as I suspected. You guys are really playing this very close to the chest. And the pain is palpable. That first card, Justice, just set it off for me. Like, okay, yeah. There is something about Scorpios that's very fair. I know people like to paint you as the bad guy. And I'm well aware every time I do your readings, I get a lot of blowback from other signs. How come you're the nicest to them? How come they're the ones that always get your attention? How come you always look the most fly in their readings? You're always babying them, blah, blah. And it's never any of that. I think what they're picking up on generally is the connection. because I feel very at home with your energy because it's so empathic. It feels like me. So when that Justice card came up, I was like, oh yeah, exactly. You are internalizing so much of what's going on in the world right now, and that's okay. Of course, that's your nature. And of course, you will transmute it, the magician, into something beautiful. Sure. But also, it's really important for you not to hold on to it. Hold on to the innovation. Speak out. Do your part, of course. But don't let it stain your heart. It's very, very important. The Four of Pentacles, the Five of Wands, internalizing the conflict, internalizing the resentment, which is so easy for you to do at times like this because you're like a sponge, is not going to help anyone. Instead, quickly move Eight of Wands to the next mode of action, which is create, speak, do the strong, innovative, ruthless thing that only Scorpios can do. Be the most Scorpio you can be, of course. But don't let your heart get stained by it because it will ultimately just harm you. If you are dealing with an air sign, a Taurus, or a Sag, you may be feeling quite a lot of well, even if they have these qualities, I was going to say it doesn't really matter actually what sign they are. You're all seemingly dealing with someone who is not quite responding the way you would want. And sometimes it feels like your energy is there and then it's gone, or they're gone. And it's easy for you to blame yourself. I think one of the things that Scorpios do best silently is blame themselves. No need. Actually, what would be best is for you to use this eclipse, lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, as a time to look at what you regret, what you want to get rid of. I was doing a personal reading earlier today, and right from the onset, I realized that the person knew what they didn't want, but they didn't know what they wanted. And it was so hard for them to manifest it. They would get right there, and then something or other would happen, and the opportunity slips away because they are absolutely positive on what they don't want, but they really couldn't tell you what they wanted. You would think it would just be the opposite of that, but it's not. So here, Five of Cups, you're so clear on what you don't want, right? It's the stuff that makes you sad. It's the stuff you're regretting. Now let's get clear on what you do want. Is it that traditional life you want? I think so. I think at their core, Scorpios are very traditional. Yes, I do. Do you want someone who knows how to speak up to you? Yeah, always. Do you want someone with direction? And also, do you want to catch a particular direction? Not about your career even. This is a larger life path we're talking about. It may be that you finally come to a point where spirituality is the main focus now. Of course, that's not hard to imagine considering, again, everything that's going on in the world. It does lead us to, existential crises, right? But what is it about this particular time and how much you've taken in and absorbed that makes you think, now I have to change the longer arc here of my story. From eclipse to eclipse, from the lunar to the solar eclipse, from the lunar in Sagittarius to the solar eclipse in Cancer at 0 degrees, you're going to have this massive energetic shift where you begin to let go, identify, and then let go of what you don't want. as something active in your energy field and hone in on what you do and get moving. And once you start moving, Cancer season turns into a dream, because you are centered, and you should remain centered. Keep up your meditative habits. Whenever I meet a Scorpio who's not meditating, life takes such drastic, sad turns for them. And I understand that's frustrating. Why do I have to meditate? Because you're a natural empath, psychic, witch, whatever you want to call it. I'm not really comfortable with that last one, but you're naturally tied in to other realms. And so meditation for you is not just important, it's vital. So once you figure out what you do want and you start walking down this road, stay on your routine. Keep doing the things you know you need to do. Sleeping enough, meditating, eating well, going out in the sun, very important. And once you figure out what you really want and you start walking in that new direction, ironically, things you wished for that have nothing to do with any of this will start to come to you. Some of them slower than others, but that's okay. Some that have been so slow that you never thought they'd come back around, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're there. Regardless of if it's a romantic partner, if it's work, it doesn't matter. The point is that when June is all done with and we're moving into July, what you're going to realize quickly is that your level of contentment is way up. Your happiness. Gemini season leaves you with such a sweetness in your spirit. You like this energy. You like people talking. You like people standing up. You like, the idea of tearing it down so it can be built properly. I can't think of anything worse to give a Scorpio as a task as fixing a house that's already been built wrong. And in a lot of ways, you may try to do that with relationships and with careers before you figure things out at the end of June. Like I said in the beginning, in the first part, you may try and switch, just like one would do when looking at strategies for fixing a house that's already been built wrong. You can try this, you can try that, when really what you know as a Scorpio inside is that it needs to calm down. It's too much of a bother to fix, and it'll never be right. So if you find yourself constantly having to adjust yourself to make yourself fit into somebody else's narrative, no, it's just too much work, especially at a time like this. Who would ask you to do that right now? That seems like a really, really selfish person, no? So what I would say is, don't do the micro adjustments. Stop. Let yourself be, and if someone is not okay with it, get rid of them. I'm shaking, I'm so mad. Get rid of them. You're too good for that. Let this sweetness of spirit at the end of Gemini season, moving into Cancer season, let it infuse you. Get here. Because once we get here, things get so good. Things get so good. And there are people and situations that you really don't think right now you'll ever be able to get out of or forget about. And Cancer season's going to roll around and you're going to go, oh, bye. That's so funny. I don't even care anymore. Okay. Good. So if you're feeling like a personal reading recorded that's sent to your inbox, there's a link. There's 4 slots open right now for mid-July for the one-on-one video chat readings. The Vimeo Extended and the Instant are the same reading. One is sent to your inbox and one you log into Vimeo to watch. You can watch them over and over again. And just as a final note, just know that my thoughts are with you, my prayers are with you, my love is with you, my support, my energy, money, everything. There is nothing more beautiful to me than people rallying around their love of justice, their love of fairness, their love of what's right. You have my utmost respect, whether you're posting on Instagram about it, whether you're out in the streets, whether you're having arguments with family members, however you are enacting this change and paying its due, I support you, I salute you, I love you. I'll see you in a second.